Get ready with me whilst I tell you about one of the worst interactions I've had with another influencer. Story time! So for a bit of backstory, I've been sober for coming up to 3 years now, and I'm a big advocate for going fully sober, going semi-sober, living that damp lifestyle. However, also if you drink, I'm not going to shame you for that. I just think sobriety is one of the best things that's ever happened to me. So I was at a party back in January, and I was there with a few of my friends. The main ones for this story we'll call Steve and Amy. So my friend whose party it was had invited Steve and Amy. They knew of each other but not super well. They were like acquaintances. And my friend whose party it was had asked me if I could like keep an eye out for both of them because she knew obviously I'd be sober. For two different reasons. Amy was trying dry Jan and was feeling a little bit anxious about being around drunk people at this party. And Steve loves a bevy, right? Big party animal. And what you should know is that Amy used to be a bit of a party girl as well. So I end up getting there a little bit late, only to find that I'm sat down and Steve is surrounded by drinks already, like empty glasses. And I made a joke like, wow, someone's starting early. Steve was like, yeah, you know me, having a good time. He wasn't that drunk at this point. Bearing in mind, I think he'd been drinking since 12 o'clock that day. It's now 8 o'clock and he wasn't that drunk. So the night goes on, me and Steve are having a really good laugh. Now, even though I'm sober girly, I have never smoked a day in my life, but the vibes in a smoking area are the one. If you struggle to speak to people when you're sober on a night out, just go to the smoking area because someone will speak to you. So I head out there, I'm meeting loads of new people and we're all having a bit of a laugh. Amy comes out to me and is like, can I sit with you for a sec? I just feel like a little bit overwhelmed. And if you ever see me out on a night out and you feel that way, you can come and sit with me, hon. Amy is visibly nervous. Steve comes over and like I say, Steve's on a vibe. Steve at this moment in time is smashed. And he's having like a little bit of a laugh and a joke with me and Amy. This is where things somehow get a little bit hostile really quick. Steve turns to me and says, Tat, I'm going to the bar. Do you want a drink? I was like, yeah, I'll just get a Coke or something like that. He then turns to Amy and is like, oh, should we get some shots in? And Amy is like, no, I'm doing dry January, so I'm not drinking. And this is when Steve turned round to my friend and said, why are you being so boring? You used to be so fun. You're my messy friend. Now listen, I'm not that much of a confrontational person, but the moment you start to insult someone for being sober, I'ma get a little bit Megan McKenna Larry. I said, no, we don't do that. Well, she used to be so fun and we used to have such a nice time together. I can see Amy is getting more and more upset by this. He's like getting more in her face, like, let's get shots, let's drink. So I physically pulled him away. I was like, we aren't doing this. We are not doing this. I've seen people at events who have been rude, who have been, not so sociable. However, I understand that some people just aren't sociable people and they're maybe not having the best day, they may be busy. But to insult someone for being sober is just, it's not good on my books, unfortunately. Frankly, it's immature and embarrassing.
I was 8 years old when I found out what a poop knife was. I don't know what a poop knife is. That's perfectly fine because I didn't know what it is. And I'm gonna be honest with you, I tell this story to a bunch of people and they still look at me like, I'm sorry, what? So I'm 8 years old and my friend Brittany asked me to spend the night and I'm like, heck yeah, I love Brittany. And she has an older brother who's like 13, who's a skateboarder, who was like so hot and I was like obsessed with him. So it's like win-win. I get to hang out with Brittany and I get to stare at her brother, which I don't know, his name might have been Kyle or whatever. So anyways, go over to her house, we get there and she was like rich. She had a 2-story and a pool and a movie room and I'm like, living the best life, because at that point in time, that was not the life I was living. So anyways, we're at her house, everything's fine. She has like a whole closet worth of snacks and I'm just like, because if you're someone who grew up without snacks in their house, you're just like, when you go over to your friends that has them, like everything is just like, wow. So automatically I'm thinking like, this house is the most amazing house I've ever seen. Like, oh my goodness, I'm just like in awe. And we walk past the laundry room and I notice that there's a knife on a rope hanging on the wall. And I look and I'm like, that's weird, but I don't say anything about it because honestly I'm having a good time and I don't want to ruin the vibe. It goes on, everything continues, everything is great. Completely forget about the knife on the rope in the laundry room until the morning comes and we're all eating breakfast and the brother's downstairs too with us and we're eating breakfast, having a good time, and then he goes upstairs and we're just sitting there watching cartoons, eating cereal, whatever, and you hear him from the top of the stairs, or from like the bathroom upstairs, saying, "Mom, I need the knife." And I look at my friend, I'm like, "What?" And my friend said, like, looks at me, doesn't even like really register that I look confused, and she goes, "Mom, don't worry, I'll get it." She goes into the laundry room, she grabs the knife off the wall and goes upstairs. She comes back down without the knife, sits down like nothing happened, and I'm like, "I'm sorry, where's the knife?" And she's like, "What do you mean?" And I'm like, "You walked upstairs with the knife, you walked back downstairs without the knife. Where's the knife on the rope?" And she's like, "Oh, my brother's using it." I'm like, "For what?" And she's like, "It's a poop knife." And I'm like, "I'm sorry, what's that? Like, what's a poop knife?" This girl, so calm, cool, and collected, goes, "Oh, you know when your poop's too big to flush, you just slice it with the knife." I have never been so shocked in my life, because there are so many questions like, why is this a thing? Why is this such a big problem that we have a literal designated knife to it? What's the sanitation process like? Why don't we just keep it in the bathroom? Why don't we just have one designated knife per bathroom? All of those things. And she like said this to me, like, this is a completely normal thing, that everybody has this, that I'm the weird one for not having it, whatever. And so I just kind of like drop it, and I like don't bring it back up, and I go home, and on the way home, I asked my mom, "Mom, why don't we have a poop knife?" And she looks at me, and listen, Kimberly has a lot of flaws. She has a lot of flaws. However, she did say in that moment, "You are never spending the night at that girl's house again." And I said, "Okay, Mom, sounds good." I never spent the night at Brittany's house again. She came over to my house a couple of times. Did not look at that brother the same after that one. Once you find out that your crush has to literally slice his poop in half so that it flushes, it really changes some things for you. But yeah, did you find out anything weird in your childhood that people do? Because I still think about the fact that I never have figured out how they sanitize it, and it just sat in their laundry room on a rope. Also, how did they get a hole into the knife to hang it on a rope? There's so many questions that are just forever left unanswered.
All right, say you're 21 years old, you're 7 months pregnant by your high school sweetheart that you've been together with since you were in 10th grade. He's 2 years older than you, so you're 21 and 23 years old. Within like 3 months of your pregnancy, he just says he doesn't want the baby. When this baby was planned, y'all agreed to have this baby, y'all made this baby, y'all lived together, everything. So you're telling him like, "No, I'm already 3 months, I didn't heard the baby heartbeat, this, that, and the third. I'm attached to my baby, I'm keeping my baby." So he's like, "Okay, you keeping your baby? I will leave." He left you the apartment, right? Fast forward 4 months, now you're 7 months pregnant. Your baby daddy randomly just shows up at the apartment. You get home from work one day and he in the kitchen making some food. You're not thinking nothing of it, but you ask him like, "Where you been, blah, blah, blah." You really don't even care where he been, because it's just like, you happy to finally see your baby father and your first love. So the day goes on, y'all all fine and dandy, everything's smooth. You cook dinner, y'all watch TV together, y'all end up falling asleep. You wake up in the middle of the night to go pee. You see his phone sitting on the nightstand next to you. So what do? You grab it. You grab his phone thinking like, "Okay, I'm going to hurry up, go through it, put it back." So you change your case on you put your case on his phone and put his case on your phone and plug it back in, so he would think that his phone is still right there if he was to wake up. You go into the bathroom and you pee and you lock the door, you turn on the water, and you start going through his phone. You put in the code to his birthday and you start going through the phone. So you're going through the phone, you see messages from girls, you're not really worried about it. Like, you don't, like, it's not really nothing too serious. Like, they just talk and chat, and you get what I'm saying? It's nothing that's like sexual in nature. So you start screenshotting all the messages, sending them to yourself, and then deleting the messages. Then you come up on a group chat that says "Bang Bros" until you go back 5 months prior. You start seeing my shit came back positive. So you like, what came back positive? Everybody else, mine's not positive, mine's not positive. 2 of the other boys in there say mine is positive. So you read up a little more. You find out that your baby daddy and his 4 homeboys that you've been knowing since you were in 10th grade has been sleeping amongst each other, and they have HIV. And that is the reason why your baby daddy does not want your baby anymore. So you start throwing up all over the bathroom, screaming, crying. The baby daddy busts in the bathroom, says, "What's going on? What's the problem? What's wrong? Are you okay?" He looks and he sees his phone in your hand, and he breaks your fucking jaw. So you pass out and you wake up a few hours later, or a little bit later. Your baby daddy is nowhere to be found, and your house is completely trashed. All your baby stuff is cut up. Everything is trashed. It's bad. And now you're almost 8 months pregnant, worried about if you have HIV, worried about if your baby has HIV, and you really have nobody to go to, because this man that moved you away from your family messed up all the ties you have with your family. That's the case of my old classmate, Armani. She wanted me to get on here and shed some light on her story and some awareness. If you are a male who is in that type of stuff, you need to let it be known. You don't just be out here sleeping with anybody and then turn around and go sleep with your girlfriend. I really don't like down low men. And I wouldn't say I don't like gay men because I love them. I do not like down low men. And I honestly don't like gay men who mess with down low men because it's like, you get what I'm saying? But everybody send prayers out to Armani. And
if you tell people that they have to lower their cholesterol and we have a pill to do it and it will protect you from having heart disease, which everyone's being told this is hereditary, what you guys don't know is that the moment you start taking the statin drug itself lowers the amount of cholesterol your body can make no matter how much fat you're consuming. Right. And did you know at home, everybody, that cholesterol is the backbone required by your hormone glands in your body to make most of your hormones? I mean, you need cholesterol to make testosterone, men. And 6 months later, you're going to go to your medical doctor and tell them, look, doc, I'm glad my cholesterol numbers are better, but I just have no interest in sleeping with my wife. The MD says, oh, that's okay. You're in your 40s. This is normal for your age. It's a little blue pill to help you with that. When in fact, the cholesterol drug you started 6 months ago doesn't allow your body to now make testosterone because you need cholesterol to make testosterone. And said fat is bad for you, causes cholesterol to go up, which will cause you to have heart disease and increase your risk of that. Take this pill. You take that pill. Now you lower your amount of cholesterol to offset the side effects of the statin drug and the low-fat diet that you're now on. Okay, that's one. Did you know serotonin, the hormone in every male and female's body, needs cholesterol to be made? Right. So now you can't make serotonin. Serotonin is your happy, feel-good hormone. Now you can't make it because you don't have cholesterol to make enough of it. What are you going to report to your medical doctor within 6 months to a year after starting your statin drug? You're going to tell them you're depressed, you're anxious, and guess what your MD's going to tell you? That's okay, this is normal. A lot of people experience this. A lot of people in my practice have this after 6 months of coming in here and getting their cholesterol checked. We put them on this. Antidepressants are still the #1 most prescribed drugs on the planet next to cholesterol drugs. Can't you see how that fits in? All right, so what happens when you tell the world to stop eating so much salt? Well, your kidneys take all of your blood and they filter it into urine and they excrete all whatever it is that you don't need in the body. It removes all the excess water out of your body and cleanses the body. Your kidneys have cells inside of them to convert uric acid into urine and filter out your blood so you can urinate. Your kidneys can't even filter anything in your blood without sodium, potassium pumps. Salt. Okay, so these are called salt potassium pumps. Okay, yeah. Well, your kidneys require salt to even work. Deprive the kidneys of salt, guess what happens to your kidney function? Do the pumps get better or worse? What do you think? And what happens when your body starts retaining water because your kidneys no longer can filter out urine out of your body? Retain it. Will the added water in your body put pressure on your blood vessels and on your heart or reduce it?
Yeah, pressure.
It increases it. Increased water, increased pressure. If you increase pressure, what's going to happen to your blood pressure? Now, you're not eating salt and your blood pressure is going up. If you tell the whole society to restrict from the time you're born how much salt you consume, all of you, because you're mammals and designed the same way and all have salt potassium pumps in your kidneys, you all over time will produce high blood pressure. And your medical doctor's got to take your blood pressure and go, oh, your blood pressure's high. We got to actually give you a high blood pressure. And make sure you don't eat salt, Mary. The FDA in America says the maximum amount of salt every day that an American should consume is 2,300 milligrams a day. What does the American Heart Association say? That's in the same country. It says we do not agree with the FDA's salt amount. They believe it should be 1,100 milligrams a day. That's less than half of what the FDA says. How come they don't agree? The Tel Aviv University study in 2016, they published the lowest amount of salt a day that keeps your blood pressure normal, they found in their study, is 6,000 milligrams. Oh, it's 6,000 to 9,000. They even said as you get to 9,000 milligrams, the results of blood pressure were better. What amount of salt is in every saline fluid bag in a hospital? Medical profession knows salt's bad for you. They tell you it's bad for you. An ambulance came to pick you up. Before you get to the hospital, you will have an IV drip of salt water going into your veins.
Yeah.
Before you even get there, before a doctor walks in the room, does an EKG or ECG or any other testing on you, they're going to give you salt without question. They know you need salt. Now, why do they know you need salt?
Why do they know we need it? Yeah.
Because they know everybody on earth is eating less salt than they need.
I finally got my high school diploma, so it's time for those story times. High school for me was some of the worst years of my life. So if you enjoyed your time in our high school, you probably contributed to my life being HE double hockey stick. But you know, we forgive and forget. There's some things that you just can't forget or forgive. So before I get into any crazy story times, let me tell you about my high school experience so this series all makes sense. Kendall, what's wrong? Your life looks so perfect. You look so happy. You post all happy things. Like, the amount of people that tell me my life is perfect, if you think that, we definitely are not actually friends. If I'm being so honest, I have a hard time remembering a night in 2 years that I haven't gone to bed crying myself to sleep. And I'm not trying to sound dramatic. I'm trying to talk about this in the most casual way possible. But yeah, like, I thought it was normal me not going to bed before 1, 2 in the morning every night for like 2 years was normal. And it's not because I had homework. It's not because I'd practiced late. Like, no, it generally was just because my brain would not shut off overthinking about every stupid thing about high school. People are mean and they're cliquey, and you really realize who your friends are when you start to have a hard time in life. Junior year hit me like a truck, and it wasn't because of all the academics I was doing. It was the build-up from sophomore year. No one talks about the trauma you endure in sophomore year. Also be some good story times, but you know, I thought I had the right friends figured out, but it turns out no one really notices when you start to go downhill. I did a lot of isolating my junior year. I quit the sport I wanted to go to college for. No one really even thought twice about that one. I mean, it all worked out in the end because then I was going to college for soccer, but whatever. Like, the amount of pressure that people place on you or that you feel against yourself in high school that you're just supposed to like deal with. I vividly remember kind of close to the end of junior year, we were doing a segment in AP Lang about what made Maddie run. If you don't know the book, look it up. I can't talk about the topic on TikTok. I got halfway into the book and tried to get as far as I could in the unit without actually finishing the reading. And eventually I decided I would go and just talk to my teacher about it. Just ended up bawling my eyes out. She had to lock her kids out for like another 15 minutes. That was the next class. And she thought it was because I was mad at the girl in the book for doing what she did. But the sad part was that I related to it. And I honestly think that crushed her because in her class, the only thing I identified myself as was an athlete. That's all I thought I was all of high school. Until like my senior year, there's like so much I could say about my entire high school experience. But honestly, I feel like it started at a really young age. Because people see everything that I have, and it's really easy to make assumptions about me without actually talking to me. And unfortunately, that's how most of my high school went. I also made some really dumb choices that people ended up using against me, which will be another story time. I just want to say, just because someone looks like they have it all does not mean they do. I'm grateful for everything that I have, but I look at some of the people that I know spread horrible rumors about me that were not true at all. And I just don't understand. I was done dirty by so many people, but I don't think I've ever been someone to like start a rumor. I only tell the truth, but I never spread rumors because it would happen to me so much. Like, I know how crappy that feels. Just at my graduation, I was walking across stage and apparently some kids said that I make money off OnlyFans. They hear I have an online presence and apparently that has been what's been going around. And it's all funny to me at this point, but I was trying to put together a TikTok about high school and it's like hard for me to go back and look at how much I was struggling in high school. But no one knew because I just felt like everyone saw me as a super perfect, like, strong person that shouldn't have any issues. Like, I literally felt selfish for having issues, and I still kind of do. And I don't want to have any regrets about high school saying I wish I would have gone back and done this, but I literally wish I just would have been more open. Wish I would have talked to more people. I wish I would have been more open to my friends about what I was going through. Because apparently now that I don't have them, they all thought that I was being self-centered and everything is about me. Like, I don't even know what to say to that. Like, I would go to the bathroom in school and cry so much. It's so embarrassing. And if you told me my freshman year that I would be that person, I would have just laughed in your face. But high school can hit you like a 2-ton brick, and that's just the reality of it. So if you need to talk to someone, my platform is always here. My DMs are open. Everyone in my comment section is always super supportive, so everyone be nice. So yeah, hopefully this makes sense about the story times that I will be sharing with you guys. Because yeah, the last 2 years of high school for me were very lonely and hard, and a lot of things did stem from me having this platform. I feel like there was a lot of judgment or jealousy or maybe just the wrong perception of how my life was going. But this is kind of a lonely job, and my situation will make sense more in the future when I share more stories with you guys. But for now, yeah, that was high school for me. Kind of trashy, kind of crappy. I had some good memories, but I'm gonna go hang out with my boyfriend. So hopefully you guys have a good night. Hopefully this helped anyone whose high school experience isn't going as good or wasn't as good as they thought it should be. Live it up. It's only 5% of your life. So peace out. Love you.
I worked at a daycare as well for almost 6 years. It started when I was in high school until my early 20s. And there was 2 little boys that the dad would drop them off at 6 in the morning and then pick them up. We closed at 6 and he was always late. He would get there at like 6:10. He would immediately drive them to an overnight daycare. And then on the weekends, he would give them to his parents and they would spend the weekend with their grandparents. What's really sad about that is the mom just ended up leaving them. So he was used to working 24/7 because he had a wife and a mom to do everything for him. And then whenever it came down to what to do with the children and she just up and left him, he literally had the children in care 24/7. And the one older boy was probably one of the most vile lent kids I've ever met in my entire life. He bit me probably 7 times. And I didn't get angry at him. He was a little boy. He didn't know any better. But he was so aggressive. He would hit the other children. There was one time I was in the older kids' room and there was a girl who she had Down syndrome. She was sitting there coloring and his dad dropped him off and he was so angry about it. He grabbed her by the back of her ponytail and went crazy on her. And it was like 2 other teachers had to help pull this boy off this girl who did absolutely nothing to him. I think that he knew in that moment that he wasn't going to see his dad for days and days and days and was that angry about it. And I'm not hating on daycare. Like, daycare is very helpful for working parents. I see it. It's honestly really sad what it does to children.
I don't know if anyone else at school used to do this, but if you got caught checking your phone, they would confiscate your phone for like a week. And there were times when people's parents would go in to try and take their phone back, like the kid's phone back. And they'd be like, no, we've confiscated it for a week, you're not allowed it back. And I was just thinking the other day, like I was talking to someone about it and I was like, that's kind of crazy. Like this 11-year-old child then has to make like a 45-minute commute home in the dark, especially if it's like winter and it gets dark at like 4 p.m. on their own, no way of contacting their parents, all because they checked the phone during lesson for the fucking time. Then it got me thinking, like, school is actually crazy. The amount of times I would see like a 50, 60-year-old man beefing with a 12-year-old in the corridor, and this man would be bright purple in the face, veins popping out of his neck, all because a child answered back at him. Like, what is going on in your home life that you feel the need to scream and scream at this child? And like, I used to think that teachers went into teaching because they liked kids, but actually I don't. At what point do you lose that love for the students and the learning? One time when I was in year 9, so I must have been like 13 years old, I was putting my books away in my locker, and one by one, these like 5 girls came out bawling their eyes out, and like that sort of cry where they like can't breathe properly, they're like hyperventilating. I'm like, what the fuck is going on in that classroom? Every single one of them came out with no eyebrows, and like, obviously the teacher had seen them with drawn on eyebrows during the class and kept them behind and made them all wipe them off after the lesson. And I just think sometimes, do these 13-year-olds having drawn on blocky 2016 eyebrows really matter to you so much that you need to draw out this awful reaction from them? Like, it's never that deep, is it? I feel like school makes everything very, very deep that is unnecessary.
Am I the astronaut for dropping off my employer's kids at her important meeting? Throwaway account, as my main is linked to me and I've received clients through it. I was an au pair before, and now I provide nanny services and annual babysitting services. A new contract is signed every year. There are no run-on contracts. I have 3 others working for me and the occasional teen looking to make some extra cash. One of my employees was done with a minor celebrity family abroad. This celebrity had recommended her to one of their other celebrity friends. I had a few families that weren't vetted on a list, but because she said she already knew the social circle, she wanted to start immediately due to cash flow and was willing to start before the formalities and paperwork was sorted out. The contract with base rate, extras, and holidays, and all were signed and agreed upon before she started. Apart from some minor disagreements, her former celebrity employer was overall a good client, so I allowed her to start thinking their friend wouldn't be a hassle without vetting them. The first week went okay, and I got good feedback from her when I touched base with her. The second week, there were some minor disagreements. The third week, they didn't serve her food because they felt that she was getting paid enough to get her own food. I contacted them and gave them a warning that they couldn't breach their contract and to reimburse her cost of food. They agreed to it, but the day after, my employee contacted me and said they gave her what they thought she should use for food instead of her actual costs, and she wanted to quit. I contacted them again and told them that there would be legal action if they didn't. They did begrudgingly, but left a voicemail wondering why she felt the need to eat papayas and pineapples, even though this is part of the children's diet, and as per the contract, she would get the same food and other fancy stuff when she couldn't afford it. They also said people like her should stick to what is within the means of their budget. So I moved her out of this placement and came to an agreement that I would take over her duties until I found them a different one. This is in line with the contract. It's my responsibility if a nanny is sick or otherwise not able to do the job, not the parents. The children were not the best behaved, but due to their ages, I let it slide. Things got bad for me during the fourth week as it was my weekend off. When I woke up, she had written me a note taped to my bedroom door that she was gone for the weekend and that I should help her out this once as I had given her a faulty nanny to begin with. This was in line with her character from what I had observed, but I was still shocked that she would pull this after my explaining the contract before taking over. I let it slide. When she returned, she came back with her husband. I sat them both down and told them that during my days off, which they would be informed about minimum 14 days prior as per contract, they had to arrange their own childcare. In addition, I reminded them that as they had now been given 2 warnings, the third would void the contract, which was in the contract. They tried to raise objections, but I reminded them that I was an employee, not a slave. 6 weeks from then, which was yesterday, I was supposed to have the weekend off. When I woke up in the morning, the house was empty apart from the children, the bearded dragon, the duck, and the other animals. Even the chef wasn't there. The note she had left stated that she was out entertaining her friends and coworkers at the beach and that she would be back by 2. She said she would really appreciate it if I would just do this once more as it was an important get-together. The children were more or less old enough to take care of themselves, so it wasn't a hard job. 2 came and went and no sign of either one of them. By 4, I had left several messages. By 5, their other celebrity friend came by to pick up some of his stuff that he had left behind a few days earlier. He mentioned a restaurant and handed me a 20, telling me to hang on in there as it was an important appointment. She was trying to get back into being an actress and she needed this. No sooner had he left did I pack up the children and made my way there. I asked the waitress to guide me to the table as we were doing a surprise and that the children had looked forward to this all week. That was a lie, but I knew I needed to get to her before the waitstaff stopped me. Her children are known in the area, so I'm glad they let me through. Then I crashed her important meeting with a surprise and telling her the contract was voided and to expect a solicitor to contact them. Since last evening, both her and her husband have left, unsavory messages on my phone. So, was I the astronaut?
I, 28 male, recently learned my wife, 27 female, has at some point performed oral sex on her mentor, 64 male. Is this not a big deal? Wife and I have been together for 4 years, married for 1. She has known this other guy her whole life. I had no idea they ever had sexual contact before this incident. The other day, I was on my wife's phone while she was asleep. I know that I shouldn't snoop, but I was. Anyways, I was scrolling through text with this mentor type figure when I ran across this bombshell. To paraphrase, it was essentially her reminiscing about sucking his dick while also complimenting his semen. He basically just replied with an emoji and the topic stopped. I confronted my wife. She claims it's something that happened years ago and is no big deal. Is she right? How should I proceed? She wasn't a minor at the time. She was 18/19, which if she's known him since she was a baby, like if it's a family friend, 37-year age gap. OP responds to someone's comment, why were you going through her phone at all? OP says, curiosity. I know I shouldn't have. How old was the message? OP says, a couple of weeks. Oh, no. Seems to be referencing something from a while ago.